Hi, we just turned 11 o'clock and we are ready to get started. My name is Rasmus Køjborg, and on behalf of Hans Christian Andersen Capital, I would like to welcome you all to today's event. A few months ago, we did a deep dive on H+H International's UK business, and today we'll dig into another of the major markets for H+H, that's the business in Poland. With me today to tell us more about the operations in Poland, I have the pleasure of welcoming Managing Director of H+H Poland, that's Piotr Dauczka, together with CEO for H+H Group, that's Michael Tronsegård Andersen. So a warm welcome to you both.
Morning.
And before I hand over, I would also like to give a warm welcome to all of those who have signed up today and listening in. As usual, you can ask questions during the event in the chat in the lower rights. And should you not be comfortable in writing in English, you can write it in Danish, and I'll help with the translation. So please do ask questions, and we will of course record the presentation and upload it to our webpage and YouTube afterwards. But with that, I'll leave it to you, Michael and Piotr. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Let me just start up with the overview of H+H, an introduction to H+H. H+H, we are producing wall building materials. We call it the white block markets, and it's two different product areas we're in. One is aircrete, porbeton, or gas beton, as many of the listeners will know, and calcium silicate blocks or calcsandstein blocks. We operate 30 factories across our footprint, and our footprint consists of three regions: the UK, what we call Central Western Europe, and Poland, which I'll come back to. And we have, I would say, either number one or number two position in these markets. We started up in Poland 15 years ago by acquiring five factories in 2005. At the back end of the financial crisis in 8 and 9, H+H Poland was in significant crisis. We had to work on turning that around. And in 2015, we acquired 5 aircrete factories and immediately closed down 4 factories. So we went from 10 factories to 6 factories immediately to create a better balance between demand and supply. And since then, we have simply not looked back. In 2018, we acquired 7 calcium silicate factories. And today, H+H Poland is the region with the highest sales volume and also with the highest earning ratios, a true success story. And with that introduction, I would like to give the word to Piotr Dauczka, who joined us in 2013 from Saint-Gobain and has been spearheading this fantastic journey, growth journey ever since. Over to you, Piotr.
Hello, everybody. I will have a pleasure to bring you into the Polish business mode. You can see at the moment our footprint, which consists of 13 plants, 6 aircrete, and 7 calcium silicate. Probably you may ask the question why this is located as it is. Geologically wise, Poland, west and south is clay. So naturally, this is the ceramic yard of the production of the clay bricks and clay blocks. Rest of Poland is sand-based. That's why we've got both aircrete and calcium silicate plants. If we move on to the next one, you will see why we are present in the white blocks. If we look at the left-hand side aircrete blocks, they are the best thermal insulation small elements on the market, as well as they have the lowest wall load. So they are very good, easy to construct, but they are very well fitting to the individual market. On the right-hand side, we've got calcium silicate blocks, which are the heaviest one on the market. But thanks to these physics, they've got extremely good acoustic insulation, and they are loved by developers. If we look at the history development of the technology in Poland, the passage, 10 years passage from 2010 to 2020 brought us in our footprint 16% growth, which means the current market at the moment is nearly 13 million cubic meters of all kinds of blocks, including silicates, aircrete, ceramics, and others. I would like to draw attention that the footprint, current footprint where we operate, which is aircrete and silicates, represents nearly 60% of the total world block market. And the development of silicates, especially over the last 10 years, from 15 to 18%, was from 9% to 18% was the highest one. If we look at the competitors' panorama, and everybody knows there is a really fierce competition in Poland in all these three sectors, in aircrete, calcium silicate, and ceramics. But thanks to that, what Michael said, we made two major acquisitions in Poland in 15 and 18, which gave us good structuring of the market, and it enabled all players on the market better spread of the shares and the capacity utilization. Of course, this affected positively the price level and the profitability level of all producers. We are strong number 2 in aircrete and calcium silicate, and overall in all type of all blocks, including ceramics, we are strong third position. If we look at the surroundings, macroeconomics and construction market in Poland, of course, COVID came to all countries in Europe, but especially building industry was not really affected severely. And we are one of the companies, as other producers, not really affected. We have no lockdowns in Poland. I'm meaning building size, neither production units. We had some, of course, COVID cases, but all precautions we took in March 2020 brought us into the safe passage, so we still produce with the full capacity. The last months, you can see the GDP in Poland is really growing positively, especially last Q2 quarter. The Q3 is slightly lower, but excellent growth of last quarters in 2021. Interesting story is that investments exceeded consumption in Poland in the last quarter. If we move on to the next one, showing how the construction and assembly output market looks like. So we can say this year the growth is at nearly zero level, so the market is close to the last year. What I said, not really in construction market affected by COVID. But there is a good prospect and outlook for the coming year, with slight decline in 23, but we have still extremely high base of the size of the construction market, and I will come back to that later. Now you can see three messages. One is the history, so dwellings completed. We did, this is rolling, 12 rolling, in August, that was nearly 230 dwellings, which is historically maximum what we can deliver to the market because of the capacity of the contractors. You can see dwellings started, so all plots are exceeding 230s. They are nearly 280,000 dwellings, but not. This means not all dwellings started could finish in the same time with the same speed. And even much more attractive future looks from dwellings permits. We've got more than 320,000 dwellings, which means at least next year is really interesting for growth in Poland, in the construction sector, in the residential sector. It will help, of course, to start up our new Reda CSU plant, which is the first hybrid plant. We have there already aircrete plant, which has been acquired in 2015. And right now we are developing the second line, which is calcium silicate line, which will start to operate in Q3 next year with the first phase capacity 60,000 cubes up to 100 in the next phase. This is interesting place because that was the first historical aircrete plant operating in Poland in 49, after the Second World War. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Very good, Piotr. Thank you very much. I think we are ready to hand over to some questions about the Polish market. Then I think you came across it in your presentation on the COVID-19 and how affected the Polish market was. Haven't you had any sort of production closure or anything like that? And are you running at sort of your full capacity at the moment?
Could you
sorry.
I focus on the questions in the chat.
Sorry, Piotr. Yeah, sorry. There was a question in relation to the COVID-19 and how it affected the Polish market, but you came across that in your presentation, as I understood it. But how about on the production part? Have you had any closures due to the COVID-19, and are you running at full capacity again now? If you had any closures?
No, as H+H, we had no lockdowns. We had some cases, but all cases were well treated, and we have shifts isolated, so people are not contaminating each other. We have potential replacements, so we are running currently and over a whole COVID period with full speed. I know the other plants, aircrete and calcium silicate plants from competition, they do the same, no problems in products.
Okay, thank you. And there was a question here also: is the trend towards increased use of H+H product offering continuing, and how is the what's your view upon that?
It's a good question. There is no slide showing how the so to speak our market share growth looks on the yearly basis. We can say all producers, they have similar products, both aircrete and calcium silicate, but H+H claims partner in wall buildings. It really means something, because our way of doing business, especially relations and digitalization of the processes, we are at every stage close to our stakeholders since design, so architects and the prescribers. We are together with the contractors, we are together with developers and end users at the end, checking if the existing building house is doing well. So I think we've got really unique approach with quite big number of specialized resources helping every day, including instructors showing how to work with those products effectively, because of course we've got huge labor forces on the contractor side, but they always are welcoming support from contractors.
Very good, thank you. And there was also a question related to sort of we've seen energy prices going up very steep on a global level. How is that affecting your costs, sort of like short term and perhaps also a bit more longer term? Are you able to hedge these costs?
It's a very good question. I think it's relevant all over Europe, the same story. We are seeing really high growth of energy costs next year compared to what we had last year and this year. But of course, we have all mitigation actions which are in two directions. The first direction, which is the easiest one, of course, just to forward the market, because we have to at least maintain our margins. So this is the easiest way. But of course, the question is, does market accept all these forwards to the market? Because if all producers from different building materials will do the same, probably we could have a certain saturation point where is the accepted level of the element cost, so to speak. Nobody knows that, but our plan is to forward to the market. Second thing is, of course, to optimize the processes in order to use much as possible energy in the process of the production of one cube. And this is the continuous improvement, what we are doing, not necessarily now related with the highest energy cost increase. We are doing over the last few years, so it's a really continuous and satisfactory development we have on the cost side.
But also in relation to this, on the substitute side, could there be a situation where the energy cost goes up too fast, that some substitute products could come in place? I don't know how the energy part of the production is on the different products, but are there some of them that are more energy demanding than others in the production process?
Probably someone could recall the slide which showed the development of different technologies, technology mix. Maybe next, just a moment, I will put it.
The next one here.
This one.
Yeah.
And you can read between lines that ceramics is the most energy-intensive business, so they are affected much more than calcium silicate and aircrete. Is this the answer? I don't know. Of course, the question is what kind of substitutes could be available on the market. We can't see at the moment anything relevant in close proximity, even midterm. Of course, we feel the trends which will come, but those trends will be related with the cost of labor force. And then we will switch from small elements towards mid and large elements from the same technologies like aircrete and calcium silicates.
Very good, thank you. There was also a question here: how exposed is H+H to a downturn in the housing market? And perhaps, Piotr, you could give us a little understanding on the Polish housing market. We've seen in a lot of European countries that with the low interest level, housing prices has dramatically gone up, and some will say there could be a bubble. But say there was a bubble and it could burst, would that affect you, or is there still a large unmet demand for housing in Poland?
Okay, the current situation, especially in developers, because the speed of the dwelling started and permits, you can see on the bars, it's higher in developers than individuals. Why? The answer is very simple. They delivered less due to the COVID and authorities processing over the last 2 years. Therefore, they are desperately seeking opportunities to grow quickly. Big players in big cities, which means they will really fight for 22, 23 growth. And this is not a bubble. They've got the decisions and investment plans for that. Secondly, we have to understand that all people took the money from the banking sector with the interest, which is sometimes already negative, towards the property markets, and they invest there, which is the best payback at the moment so far. Of course, the question is relevant. How we always think about potential downturn, which we know in the building industry will come because it's a cyclical business, and exposition is rather high and quick. But thanks to our good spread of footprint, we have no big monster plants which are affected immediately. We can gradually work with the capacity adjustments, both from the process point of view and labor point of view, and we could be safe running half speed, but bringing the profits. Maybe not with the same like last 3 years, which are exceptional one, especially year 2019, we released 6 companies in Poland in construction market, the best economical ratios, especially profit ratios.
Okay, very good. Thanks for that, Piotr. And I also have another question related to, if you go back to your map here of your plants in the in Poland, and as you said, they are concentrated quite large on the western, or sorry, the eastern side of Poland. Are you able to the countries that goes up to here, as I see it, is Belarus and Ukraine? Are you able to supply into these countries, say if you run on low sales yourself and you're not fully utilizing the capacity of your factories?
Okay,
or is transportation cost too high, or yeah?
Okay, it's a little bit dream, but not bad dream. Of course, the current capacity utilization is more than 90%, and we are closer to 100. So with the current market situation, answer is no, we can't. And especially the business we are in, both aircrete and silicates, is very local. So the radius from the chimney, we are saying, is something like 150 to 100 kilometers away due to the transport cost. And on this map, you can see the competition. Believe me, the whole Poland is well covered. We've got 71 plants operating in Poland in 3 areas, in aircrete, silicates, and ceramics. And they are really covering whole Poland. So we've got certain areas where we have the influence higher, and our, so to speak, local market share is much higher than the others, and opposite, where we are not present, our market share is much lower. Answering your question, Belarus, of course, it's non-EU, so we've got certain product declarations and obligations within the EU which could be fulfilled, and not necessarily those products are fulfilling, especially, I mean, the CO2 emissions. Secondly, we have to remember, close to the Polish border on the Belarus side, we've got 3 aircrete sites, quite good quality. So rather, we could expect flow from Belarus, and we have it. We have it close to the border in the eastern northeast part, something like 150,000 cubes a year coming from Belarus. Fairly good quality, but of course, there is a certain risk of the product declaration. In Ukraine, in the close proximity, there is no production facilities. And of course, current Ukrainian political situation doesn't invite too many players to invest there, but we don't dream for exports eastbound.
Very good. Thank you for that. And there came another questions, and I think I'll move to this slide here with the sort of the market overview of the Polish market. And someone is asking here if there's opportunity for some further consolidation on the Polish market. And if we look at, for instance, on the aircrete market, we see that Solbit has 7 plants with a 40% market share, and you have 1 plant less with some 24%. That could be because of factory sizes, that could be because of another view on transportation and such, but maybe you could elaborate a little bit on that, Piotr.
Okay, yes. Right now, Solbit case, they've got the biggest monster plant in aircrete in Europe, not only in Poland, with capacity over 1 million. And that was their dream, their business model. They are using economy of scale in this plant. And of course, it gives them quite positive effect. But we have to remember the other plants are not in the same condition like this one. Therefore, natural stake of 7 plants doesn't correspond to, for example, our 6 plants. It's big gap, of course. But if we look on the consolidation possibilities, I have listed big players in 3 areas, yes, in aircrete, silicates, and ceramics. Those companies, if would like to acquire each other, should get okay from competition authorities, and it could be really difficult. We have minor players, and these small players are the potential targets of acquisitions of all those 5 listed, including us as a 6, yes.
So if I may, I think that to be clear, that there are no big possibilities, but we are always looking for opportunities. I think that is the answer, right?
Right.
And Piotr, maybe you could also on this slide give us a little bit flavor on how large are the synergies, if there are any, in the production of AAC and CSU, because we see that Solbit does not have a CSU, so they're taking a stance on only producing aircrete, unless, of course, they have a market share that gives them in the other section. I'm not sure about that in the CSU, but is there any sort of, like, it more relates to what kind of synergies do you have in this production?
Okay, I think there are 3 areas of the synergies. I start from the easiest one, the synergy on the operational process. We've got effect of economy of scale on the raw materials, energy, on all supplies. So this is very strong one.
Yes.
We have some raw materials similar in both businesses. We have to remember both natural and mineral based on sand and lime. Secondly, we can say that our claim partners in wall building means something, not only the sentence, yes? This is the way how we are doing our daily business, so how we operate with builder merchants, contractors, and developers. And having those 2 products, moving to this slide, we are solving with aircrete blocks the warmest wall solution, and on the right-hand side with silicate blocks, the best acoustic properties wall, especially which is required between flats in developers. So we can be one supplier of 2 solutions which could be used on the same site. This is very important. And the third one, of course, is the processing. When we have 13 plants, nobody cares how many plants we have. We have one customer service center and one contact person who cares entire offer. So we are working more or less like in the financial sector, dedicated people to the customer service.
Okay, very good.
If I may also one thing, just one more comment, and then you of course alluded to it. When we took over the calcium silicate plants in 2018, due to our general process level, because the production processes are very similar, we made very dramatic improvements already from day one in the operational performance of the acquired plants.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thanks. And if I may turn back to this slide, Piotr, also just to there was this slide. It seems like the market is starting to get fairly consolidated. I guess it was a lot more fragmented, and as Michael introduced with saying that in Poland there was even more competition than there was today, perhaps, and price pressure. But it seems like you're approaching a market where perhaps the price pressure could ease a bit with this kind of consolidation, at least looking from the sort of the economical textbook. That would be the case with sort of three major participants or producers in this market. Do you agree on that?
Yes, you are right. The consolidation helped, especially the day after we have closed down 4 plants. Suddenly, we freed the capacity of the competitors, and they understood we have larger areas to operate from one plant. And the current situation with the market demand helps us even much more than the structuring of the market. Of course, it's a long way to go, because if the downturn will come, we will not have the same beautiful picture anymore, but we will remain the structuring of the market, which may be far from ideal, but at least there are some potentials, as Michael said. We can't dream about big acquisitions between big players at the moment, but definitely all of us, I mentioned here, like Solbert, Wienerberger, Excel, Allier, and Silpro, as well as H+H, could concentrate on much smaller targets in potential acquisitions.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And we are running a bit short of time, but maybe one last question relating to, we see that the number of building permits so far until August is up pretty much. I think it's some 35% this year. What kind of lag would you usually see from the building permits being granted until you would actually could see it in your sales numbers? What is the typical process for building in Poland?
Okay, for better understanding, this is not the same as in Germany, for example. The building permit is authorization to start the building activity, which means the party who receives the permit is allowed to start within 3 and currently 5 years. So if they will not do it because of they changed the plans, they haven't received the loan which could be suitable for them, or anything, any other reason, they can repeat this or extend the process. So having 324 in the pipeline, it's a good sign. But as I mentioned, the current capacity of the contracting forces in Poland is around 230 a year, which is still the highest ever level of completions. And with the current 230, our capacity is full. I mean, not our as H+H, but all block manufacturers in Poland. The current situation is like that, the demand exceeds supply.
Okay, very good. I think we will end with that. That's a nice phrase, and for the market going forward. And thank you very much to you, Piotr, and to you, Michael, for a very interesting presentation to the Polish business. And thank you all for listening in and for the questions. I think I'll just wish you all a pleasant day then. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.